Hi, my name is Karen Lee Sobol. Does this sound okay? And it's wonderful to be here, and it's wonderful that we're all here, and that so many talented and dedicated people are working to cure this disease. I need to start by acknowledging my doctor, Dr. Stephen Treon, and your whole team, and my husband, Bill Zielinski, and the IMF, because all of you really have been key in this experience and in my being well. So I want to talk kind of quickly about three things in my situation. One was getting sick, the next was getting well, and the third was staying well. And as part of that, I'd like to offer to you with great respect three concepts that were absolutely key for me and that I hope would be for everyone. The first was education. I really feel that the more educated we are, the better advocates we are for our own health, and the better allies we are for our doctors to get us healthy. The second thing is the importance of what's called, the mind-body connection, or holistic medicine, or integrative medicine. And the third is clinical trials, and how absolutely key our participation in clinical trials is, not only for us as individuals, but for us collectively. So I was what I would call the healthiest person I knew. I swam, I ate well, very, very active. I've never owned a car. Bill and I share one. I started to get something which came up in this morning session. I started to get arthritis in my hands. And I called my brother and I said, do we have any arthritis in our family? And he said, no. And that went on for a while, and I had some trouble walking. Although I just told you I was super active, my legs would start to hurt. And then about 9 months before I was diagnosed, there was a big episode, and 3 months later, another one, and I didn't know why my legs didn't work. My internist was clueless. Only took a blood test when I kind of said, something's really off here. We have to try to figure this out. Once I was diagnosed, a lot of questions started to come up, and I needed a doctor who could treat me like a person. And thanks to you, Bill, you found Dr. Treon very, very quickly. And my doctor was very, very patient with all my questions, which just seemed to keep growing the more I learned. And I have to really thank the IWMF here, because the way I dealt with being sick was to become totally private. This was not something I was going to talk about with anybody. But I did call the IWMF. Sarah answered the phone. She's here organizing this. She was so kind, and she offered to send me pamphlets. So from the pamphlets, I learned about the biology of the disease, and I also learned about the biology of the drugs. And then I liked hearing Dr. Kyle tell us all this morning, go read your textbooks, because I went to my daughter's biology text, and I learned about the lymph system, and I learned about the immune system, and I tried to figure out, what forces were at play here. So that's the first thing. We should really try to be as knowledgeable as we can for our own sakes. The mind-body connection. It's funny. I mean, we all walk around with these minds in our bodies, but yet our culture and our industrialized society kind of separates the two. I wanted to make my cancer go away with anything but Western medicine. I had a wonderful Chinese herbalist who helped me boost my immune system. I received some inspiration from friends, which led to meditation, which I would do twice daily and still continue to do. And as part of that meditation, I saw myself as cancer-free and healthy. I brought a little box of green tea because it's now been proven in the lab that there's a chemical in here that reduces IgM in Waldenstrom's patients. So I recommend green tea. And once I was through with my clinical trial, I used some ancient Eastern techniques, including Tibetan sound vibration techniques and also Japanese Reiki energy work. And I just believe that all of this really creates a chemistry. It really, the mental climate that we have really influences the chemistry of our bodies, which can help us to be healthy and help us to be cured. I met a doctor last night named Fred Hochman. I've never met him before. He's a neurologist, and his specialty is brain cancer. He's now working with all of us on Waldenstrom's because it fascinates him. He told me a statistic that I think it's important for us all to know. He said 50% of people with cancer are really open to Eastern non-traditional medicine, meditation, et cetera, but only 5% of patients with cancer are willing to entertain entering a clinical trial. So now I'd like to tell you my story of the clinical trial. I figured that my first shot was going to be my best shot, meaning I was probably healthiest before I started getting any drugs than I would be once I started getting drugs. I was incredibly lucky that my doctor had some clinical trials available with a couple of spots still open. The drug that I had is called alemtuzumab. You saw it on one of Dr. Trion's charts. Its street name is Campath. It's a synthetic monoclonal antibody, which means that it's modeled after an antibody in our own bodies, and it targets CD20. So not only would it hit all the tumor cells, it would also hit every B cell I had. Yeah, is it too long? See, why don't you say, because I don't know what you want me to say.
If you will permit me,
Please.
Karen, and I hope I'm right in this, and Dr. Trion, I think Campath targets CD52. Right?
Really? Oh, good correction. CD52. I guess I got confused on that. The other thing about this clinical trial, which had amazing appeal to me, is this. The whole thing took place in 12 weeks. So we started with 1 week of dose escalation, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, where I got a little more of the drug each day. And then for the next 3 months, every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Friday, I got Campath in the clinic. And the results were really great. After a few weeks, Dr. Trion said not only is the IgM going down, but there's something we call the M spike. And my M spike had started to go down, meaning there was just, the tumor cells just weren't producing the IgM anymore. So the bottom line was that the disease went completely away. And I'm very, very fortunate. And this is a result that I and all of us want for absolutely everybody. And I just can't encourage enough the idea of participating in a clinical trial. I want to say that just like Campath was the model for, just like human biology was the model for synthetically produced Campath, there are a lot of substances, animals, plants in nature that are tremendous models for pharmaceuticals. And I have with me a little cone snail shell just to make a quick point about how important it is that we try to preserve nature on this planet, because it plays a role with all our health. These snails produce toxic peptides, and when those toxic peptides are reproduced in the laboratory, they create opiates that are far, far more effective than morphine, without tolerance, without addiction. So I'll just kind of make a plea to all of us to work for our own health and also for the health of the planet, because they're not separable. They're really the same thing. I believe really, totally, that the word incurable is going to go away from this disease, and I think it's going to go away very, very quickly. And with that, I just want to say thank you very, very much, and good health to us all.